Welcome everyone, great to have you here. Before we dive in, I'd like to acknowledge that this webinar is taking place on the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and to pay my respects to the elders, both past and present. It's great to be back this quarter taking a look at what's been delivered in the last quarter, but also exploring what's coming up on our product roadmap ahead. A large focus of this quarter is about increasing access to advice and making our core tools more efficient and introducing new tools that remove friction and streamline processes. Think of it like upgrading a freeway system, which I'm well aware of being from Melbourne with the amount of roadworks happening these days. If advice is the destination and our tools are the roads to get you there, we're not just adding more lanes, we're also improving road quality, installing smarter traffic flow and opening new express routes. The goal? Faster, smoother and more efficient journeys for both advisors and clients. So before we dive in, some housekeeping. This webinar is CPD accredited, but you need to stay for 80% of the webinar and our certificates will be sent to you via email. There'll also be time for questions at the end, so please post your questions in the Q&A box. We'll answer as many as we can. It'd also be great if you put your name against there so we can get back to you if we need to. So let's get cracking. I'm pleased to introduce here today with me, first, Jacob Chapman, our General Manager of Product, and then Yulia Chin, the Head of Product. So Jake, Yulia, before we dive into the roadmap, I just want to touch on the topic of making advice more accessible. So we've got about 11.8 million Australians who want access to advice. Financial literacy is also declining, and we're also seeing an absolute increase in our, the market wanting to create more opportunities for advice and compete for that $2.1 billion of advice fees that are on the table. These stats come from our Big Shift report that we released last year with Deloitte Access Economics. We've also been working really closely with advisors, and our advisors are telling us that they're wanting to provide more advice to more Australians. And in fact, 94% of our advisory members believe they've got the capacity to take on more, and they want to tackle this through either efficiency or more scalable advice solutions. We're obviously doubling down on our efforts to close that advice gap, and I think we're also helping the industry be able to gain access to that advice industry, to the network of clients and potential clients out there. Jake, what are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely, Kerry. There is no better time to be in the advice industry because of that demand that is pushing through, both from a retirement advice perspective and also, as you mentioned, that broad consumer need to really improve advice services for. I think in terms of advisors and the roles that practices need to be thinking about is where they want to play, what customer segments they want to service. So there is, I think it's a bit of an inflection point in the industry where moving from almost a one-size-fits-all for a lot of the industry through to being some very specific of customer types, customer segments and advice types that you're wanting to provide. Making the very deliberate choices around that will then drive what technologies you want to use and how the technologies can be used efficiently to maximise the benefit of that for those advised clients on a spectrum of ultra high net worth and a different set of services and a different set of capabilities there through to very targeted limited scope advice for potentially a less complex, more high volume type of client. I think, really being clear on who you're segmenting, with what offer, what technology you need, and particularly what digital tools you can put in place to really do some of that heavy lifting.
Yeah, I believe there's in 2023 when we did the advice efficiency report with Business Health, there is a stats mentioned that with a complex advice, the industry it's going to take like 12.2 hours, and 1/3 of that time is about admin tasks. So I think, Kerry, to serve this mass market is creating that efficiency for our advisors to really automate where possible in terms of the admin process and giving time back for them to meet more of the client to service the market that is coming up as well. So efficiency is the key, and with Iress, since we, like you mentioned before, we invested back to the core of Xplan and enabling that in terms of the efficiency to our users. So can't wait to share to the audience today what we have installed.
Yeah, definitely, and I think we definitely understand our part to play in this. A lot of efficiency comes from technology use, and it's a really big opportunity for us. And I think if we get it right, I think the industry will benefit. I think our advice businesses will benefit, but then inevitably the Australians that need advice are going to benefit from that as well. So there's a lot of exciting work happening. I'm really excited for what the prospects are for this industry and how we can support it through a technology partner as well. So Jake, let's dive into it. How have we gone with product delivery in Q1 of 25?
So, Kerry, one of the things we've been consistent with is sharing out our delivery stats, and I'm keen to do that again today, as well as step into some new stats. I guess the headline here is that we delivered 76% of initiatives in plan that we are uniquely in control of, and there is a little bit of a caveat statement on that. There were a number of initiatives that we had dependencies with third parties, particularly around data feeds. So what that meant was that we needed to have aligned delivery plans with these third parties, those data feed providers. Sometimes those delivery plans don't line up, and that has contributed to, at a total level, a 59% delivery to plan. So it is sub where we want it to go in totality, but it is unfortunately one of those elements of out of our control. So we do work very closely with our delivery partners, our data feed providers, but not quite where we want it to go. We did also make some intentional scope changes for things like modelling multiple super funds, so that we can have a much better, much more efficient end-to-end service when we get that out, which has also contributed to some delays. One of the things, again, I am keen to really bring into our roadmap discussion as well, moving forward, is not just how we are delivering to our roadmap, but also how we're feeding that roadmap with feedback. Mm-hmm. So one of the new stats that I'm really keen that we're going to be putting out is our feedback management process and numbers relating to that. So in the first quarter of the year, we received through various channels close to 6,000 pieces of individual pieces of feedback. So they came from different places, webinar feedback, community forum, Advisory, Ensemble, various places, a number of different channels. And we have done a pretty good job from my perspective in synthesising and assessing that feedback. So of those 6,000 odd pieces of feedback, we have assessed around about just over 4,000. So just over 66%, 2/3. So what assessed means is that we have reviewed it, we have determined, is it something we're going to be looking to do, is it on the roadmap, or is it indeed something already been done? In which case, how do we provide that communication back to our user group? So that is a pretty good stat from my perspective. It's never going to be 100% because it is always an ongoing stream of incoming feedback, and this is just a snapshot at a point in time. 28% of that feedback we have still yet to go through, which, as I said, is that's just a normal process based on where we're at a point in time, and a remaining 6% is ones that we've looked at, we've assessed, and we've determined that no, we won't be proceeding with it. Now, in the form of the feedback. Now, that could be because we don't see the overall demand for that for the need. It may not be it may be unique to individual sites, and therefore would need to be assessed in a different fashion. So all of this work is done by our product management team. Mm-hmm. So critically reviewing all of that, feeding it into our development, into our pipeline for future initiatives. But yeah, something I'm pretty excited to be able to share. We'd like to be sharing that on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, and I think it's really a really great stat. So over 60%, over 4,000 items helping feed into this roadmap, and it is an Xplan roadmap, and it comes from Iress, but it's actually built by our community, built by a community of users. So that stat is a really good stat for me, and I want to see more of that as we move forward as well.
Yeah, I think it is something that we do take very seriously. We do need to continually evolve out our product set. So, and feedback's a great mechanism to improve it.
Definitely.
So, just stepping forward into the roadmap, we've got a series of 5 delivery strategic pillars by which we have continually structured our roadmap. So they are consistent. You will have seen them before if you have been to watch one of these roadmap sessions previously, and it's just an ongoing flavour that we'll continue with. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So how about we dive into some of the detail of the roadmap? So as per previous quarters, we're definitely going to focus on some of the things we've delivered over the last quarter, and we'll also look forward for the next 2 quarters as well. So Julia, first out of the gates, I know we've been working quite a bit with our Compay team and all around invoicing. And for me, I think an important part of every advice business is first off to price right for your advice, but the process that sits behind it. So how do we invoice? How do we receive payments, which was a gap in our offer? And then how do we actually reconcile and match off those payments? And I know we've been doing a bit of work there. Do you want to give us an update on where we're at with that?
Yeah, I'm very excited about this initiative. I remember in my previous career as one of the licensee in the remuneration team, it took me like weeks and weeks to do an unmatched deposit, and missing invoices and everything else is so cumbersome. And the things that I'm so excited with what coming in Compay is how this provide a seamless invoicing to our users. So pretty much everything done in one place. So direct debit through the one-off and recurring payment, integrated with one of the payment platform as well, making sure that the automatic invoicing is happening, generating the statement as well, and pretty much doing that. What you need a person to be able to do it is pretty much automatic. So let's check out these videos to show you how the capability works.
You told us you wanted an easier and faster way to process invoice payments. Our new integrated payment solution enables fast, easy and secure one-off and recurring payments, removing unnecessary clicks, room for error, and hours of wasted time on admin. Let's take a look. When an advice client has paid their invoice, the funds are automatically transferred to your business bank account. All payments are then matched and reconciled to invoices raised within Xplan. As well as faster, secure payment processing, we've also introduced additional new features such as notifications for failed payments, helping you stay on top of your client payments and your cash flow with ease. You wanted a better way to process invoices. Now you have it.
That's a really great capability that we're really excited about. Like Julia said, getting that end-to-end capability, driving out, thinking about all of the jobs to be done within a practice and how we can actually smooth that out. Invoicing is great, but if we can close that loop with payments in an integrated solution, automatically reconciling an end-to-end solution and an end-to-end benefit for our customers.
Absolutely, Jake. Another things from an advice efficiency perspective that we are about to launch in IPS portfolio beta screen, it's enabling the platform information's balance from IRISnet straight to the position screen. So previously users have to go to reconciliations reporting instead of on the screen. So we pretty much bring that data in the screen at the user's fingertips. So that data include the unit cost, the market value, the price as well in the IPS. Yeah,
I think everything at a user's fingertips, right? And I think we're going to save a huge amount of clicks, and every click is an efficiency
it's
play.
Important.
So
yeah.
Most definitely. I think we also across the measures that have been rolled out with QAR, so really aiming to improve accessibility and affordability of advice in Australia. So really important piece of work. We have been involving Xplan to support the changes with the QAR. To make it easier for you to meet your compliance requirements. So Julia, do you want to give us an overview of what we've done there?
Yeah, I think with QAR story from the QAR report now becoming the DBFO or Delivery Better Financial Outcome package that the government is currently focusing on, there's a couple of tranches that, as you know, aware of, Kerry. So the first tranche that we roll out in January 2025 is around the 2 things, which is we update the FDS reference date to 150 days. And also we include a different way of sharing the FSG. So that's a publicly available website or anything like that. That's the 2 things that we roll out in January 2025. We are monitoring really closely on the tranche 2, as you know, with the superannuation prom or how do we delivering a superannuation fee and also the customer advice record. So we're monitoring it closely. We are part of the working group in one of the industry leaders associations as well to make sure that we keep abreast about the what coming in the industry.
Yeah, most definitely. I think the whole industry is keeping a really close eye on this.
Very much.
We most definitely are, and we are ready to adapt where needed in our systems in a really fast way for the industry as well. We have also been working really hard behind the scenes on SOC 2 Type 2. So you may have heard the term before, but SOC 2 Type 2 is really about protecting data and ensuring that we have really strong security measures in place, something that we take very, very seriously here at Iress. So we know that the financial services industry is built around trust, and trust is very, very important. It's pretty much everything, right? Clients expect their sensitive information to be safe, and the regulators also demand that really strict data controls. And that's why SOC 2 really helps us to prove that we meet the highest standard for security, availability, and also data integrity. Jake, what does that actually mean for the people here today?
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for us to go into a little bit of detail around what SOC 2 actually means. So it stands for Systems and Organisation Control, and it's an internationally recognised accreditation and framework that ultimately provides guidance for organisations how to better protect customer data. There are a number of key trust services criteria, so the largest being security, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality and privacy. They're the 5 key areas. And we have talked previously last year around about what Type 1 is, SOC 2 Type 1 and then SOC 2 Type 2. So I just wanted to give a very quick flavour of the differences there and what's the outcome of it. So SOC 2 Type 1 is essentially a review of controls at a point in time. And that is good to kind of go, okay, yes, that's great, we've got the controls in place. SOC 2 really looks at the effectiveness of those controls in action on an ongoing basis and over a period of time. So that is audited by an accredited third party who, once satisfied, they will provide that accreditation. SOC 2 is a very aligned and respected international accreditation, very in a similar vein to ISO 27001. So it's something we've been working very hard to achieve and very hard to get actually deeply woven into how we operate, and those controls, the focus areas of SOC 2 into the way that we're operating and how that can really be tied up to support that accreditation. So something we're really, really excited about.
Yeah, definitely. Jake, really important work for us as well, and really great for our customers to have confidence that their client data is protected. I think that's really important. Julia, we've also been listening to our network on how they use WealthSolver, and we've made some improvements there. Do you want to take us through those?
Yeah, so this is one of example where Jack mentioned about when feedback was assessed, received and then assessed, and we deliver them based on that assessment. So we understand from the feedback that we received in WealthSolver, there is a part of the derived plan or custom plan in terms of the editing and user management. There's a gap around that. So what we've done is we deployed more control for this licensee or whatnot, or the users, to make sure that each of the users have the right permission and the visibility. So that's what we've done in WealthSolver derived plan on the back of our users' feedbacks.
Definitely great. Another thing that we've been working quite a bit on is our data feeds. And you'll see in our roadmaps that we're constantly adding data feed providers. And data feeds for me is a really important part of managing client portfolios in a really efficient way. So you think about data feeds are the automated pipes that bring portfolio data directly into our platform portfolios IPS. And it removes the need for that sort of manual data entry, and it really keeps the information accurate, up to date, and always available when you need it. Jake, I know data feeds is something you're really passionate about. Can you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, so data feeds are really the lifeblood of the ongoing advice provision. So we have got around about 200 integrated data feed providers. Now that is something that's very much a differentiator for us from some of the competitive other alternatives. That the ability to provide efficiencies with that volume of integrated services is something that we're really proud of. That does come with a fair impost on us to continually manage those data feeds, ensure they're available, assure that data is reconciling as it's been received into us, and then assure that it's going out to the right sites. So a massive job that sits underneath the covers. It consumes an entire sort of delivery and support team, and we have got a team that's supporting ongoing changes to data feeds. it disproportionately represents a large volume of our support tickets as well. And I think it's probably an area where we do get some feedback that's, challenging feedback around it. It's an interesting one because, we do only use the data that comes to us, and we're subject to some of the changes that the data feed providers would apply, that we would possibly find out late, or which might have flow-on effects. But it is something that I think is a very true efficiency generator for our clients, and something that's very much a differentiator in our product.
Yeah, definitely. And we work really closely with our providers to get the information as accurate as possible to really unlock that data for our customers. Speaking of data feeds, I think I also want to touch on insurance data feeds. I guess the data feeds that we don't really talk about as often as we probably should. And I probably want to debunk a couple of myths with insurance data feeds. So I recall going back, probably 10 years ago now when I was providing advice, insurance data feeds didn't always work as expected for me. And one of the bits of feedback that I had in the past was around it overriding information when insurance data feeds are pulling through. But since joining Iress and keeping up to date with everything that we've developed along the way, I now realise that insurance data feeds actually work much better than they did in the past, and we've made quite a few advancements with how they work. And interestingly enough now, it doesn't override data, and it just imports the new data to the system. So you'll notice on our product roadmap this month, we're working with a few key insurance providers on incorporating their data or updating their data within our system. But I think it's something that everyone should take a good look at. Everyone should use these, Jake?
Totally, it's an enormous efficiency gain. I think, but I agree with your comments about debunking some of the sort of historical views on some of the data feeds, particularly insurance data feeds. We are just the recipients of the data, and if there are changes to the underlying data, if there are changes in the underlying accounts, if there are changes to the underlying product definitions that these product providers would have, then that will flow down and cascade into our data feeds. It is something that we are very conscious of, and trying to take as much of the heavy lifting out of the frustration points, but we are a sort of centralised part of the ecosystem. We're not necessarily the source of truth for that data coming in.
Definitely. So there's been a lot of updates to data feeds. I think it's one thing to keep an eye on as well through future roadmaps and our release notes. Speaking of release notes, I think something that we focused on is how we communicate to our customers to keep them up to date on what's happening within Iress and with Xplan. I think these quarterly product roadmaps are definitely something that's keeping everyone up to date at a higher level. But we've also got release notes that a lot of people rely on and a lot of people love, and we want to make sure that they're more accessible for more people. We made some recent updates, Julia. What have we done there with the release notes?
Yeah, I think to avoid that we have all of these myths going around, Kerry, I think this is a good change that we are deploying. So last quarter we mentioned that we're moving release note from community now to Xplan. There's a couple of enhancements that we're doing throughout the year. The first, we're doing it in two phases. The first phase is around the ability for you to do a key search in terms of keyword. And the next phase that we are deploying as well is around email notifications to make sure that our advisors have straight access in terms of what we change in the model. So check this video out about how do you set that up.
You told us you wanted to keep up to date on the latest Xplan release notes. We've added notifications and new search functionality within Xplan, making it quicker and easier to stay informed on updates, fixes, and improvements we're making to Xplan. With our new search feature, you can search updates by keyword or reference number, and add release dates to further refine your search. With our new notifications feature, you'll soon be able to get email updates on new and updated release notes, and change your settings at any time. You wanted an easy way to keep your finger on the pulse with Xplan release notes. With our latest updates, you'll have it.
That's a really great example of us listening to feedback. I know that capability was there when we had release notes hosted on community, and moving it into Xplan, we were really keen to make sure that accessibility of that information was easier. So it is a really important feature to include as well. As Julie mentioned, stepping into later the notification side of things and email, again, really wanting to make sure that people understand what we're changing when we are releasing things and the benefit of that. It's an interesting dynamic, like I said at the start, around the amount of feedback that's been processed, that we've looked through and assessed, and seen that that's some of the capability has already been done, and that could be years ago, but our users aren't necessarily aware of that. So release notes is a critical component in our mind to ensuring our user group stays up to date, and that they're getting that information, so that as we do release change, similar to with like these roadmaps, making sure everyone understands what's coming and then what's been delivered, so that they can get the real full benefit of those changes.
And it makes sense as well to put it into Xplan, because users every day logging into the Xplan to generate advice or whatnot and having that conversation with the client. So to enable them to find out what changed with Xplan in Xplan at their fingertip, that's like, again, avoiding many clicking or many platform to find the same information. So hopefully that's going to give the efficiency back to the client, to the advisors.
Yeah, definitely. I think efficiency and visibility of everything that we're doing, something that's really important for us and the industry as well, to keep up to date. So that's really great stuff, Jake and Yulia. Something that the industry has also been asking me quite a bit about is our fact find within Client Portal, and in particular using that fact find as a reverse fact find. And really it's the ability for advisors to tell what's been updated on a client, right? So it's really great to see that we're releasing the tool that shows the differences between what's been edited from a client within Client Portal. That's going to be released in Q2. It's going to allow everyone to see that when something gets updated in Client Portal, it will automatically create an audit trail and a document note that sits against the client, so they'll know exactly what's been updated. So it's something that a lot of people have been waiting for, and it's great to see that coming to market in Q2. Something that I'm also really passionate about is ensuring that all our customers have data at their fingertips to help them run their business and advice process. So Jake, we've been chatting about this previously to the Advice Network, but Xplan Business Intelligence and giving data insights back to our customers through that. What's the latest update with where we're at with Xplan BI?
Yeah, so as you said, Kerry, there is a real friction point for our users and practices to export, cleanse manually, create a reporting solution around data. So it's been loud and clear customer feedback from that I've heard since joining Iress that they really need that capability, and we've then pivoted to then turn that right into a capability that sits within Iress, within Xplan. We're really committed to do that within Iress. We've done a great deal of work. So there is a lot of underlying infrastructure, technical build work that needs to be done. We've made great headway on that. I have seen some working examples of the software sitting within Xplan, not yet productionised, and it's not yet at an industrialised scale yet. So we've got work to do throughout the year to get that sorted. But what we would really like to do is to keep any interested parties up to date with what we're doing there. So we want to provide a mechanism for our customers or anyone interested to stay close, and there was a QR code that can be used to navigate you to the right access point to register your interest.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. So I've seen the prototype and it's real, and we can actually click around it. We're heading into pilot soon. And I know there's been a heap of interest in this across the industry and across our customers. So if you want to stay up to date with the pilot, and we'll provide periodic updates along the way of that pilot, there's a QR code to scan. We'll make sure we send that out after this as well. But if you scan the QR code, register your interest, what we'll do is we'll keep you up to date with how that pilot's progressing, and also keep you up to date with what our launch plans with that as well. But one thing to definitely keep an eye on, I think data at your fingertips to run your business is one of those really important things that, to be honest, everyone has been asking for, and it's been hard to get. So really exciting work. I think this is something that doesn't directly affect our Xplan users, but it's something that really helps the industry. So we were working also on WealthSolver Business Intelligence, Julia. Do you want to give us an overview of what that is?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. So WealthSolver BI, or WBI, that what we call it right now, is pretty much aggregated data of WealthSolver recommendations data that is being presented in interactive dashboard in QuickSight. So this enabling, there's a competitor analysis happening as well around the net flows or whatnot. So the purpose of this is really giving platform providers especially access to understand the market product performance and try to understand the competitors out there in the market as well, and enabling them to evolve their products on the back of this recommendation data. So the intent is not only we try to help with advisors around Xplan to provide that better reporting like XBI, but we want to provide these product providers to also reacting to that market trend and the customer feedback and contribute to the financial planning industry where they can.
Yeah, definitely. Really excited to hear that work is happening, and although it doesn't have a direct impact directly to our advisors, it does actually help our product providers improve their products, which inevitably is going to improve the advice that provided from our advisors, but also our end clients as well there. So really great work there. Jake, we've also received quite a bit of feedback on Diary Sync, and in particular how the data flows between Outlook, which is predominantly used at the moment, and Xplan. What's the latest there?
Yeah, so we will be re-establishing that integrated capability and allow that two-way sync between Outlook and Xplan. There was a change made by Microsoft some time ago now, which deprecated the previous integration capability, and essentially that just disabled the service entirely. We know it's a real frustration point. We know that it's impacting efficiency, and we are committed to getting it back in place. We are looking actively at what we can do to accelerate even the timeline on that we've shown. There are a number of technical complexities that contribute to re-establishing that we really need to work through. Some new integration capabilities that Microsoft has gone down how they would allow that service. So something that we're actively looking at right now, but very keen to get that back in place and re-establish it for our users.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a huge efficiency play that people have been wanting again to be reinstated. So it's something that we're taking very seriously within Iress.
Yeah, we've certainly heard that feedback loud and clear.
Yep, definitely. Well, that's it for the roadmap update. Of course, there's a whole heap of information that sits underneath that, and that will be sent out to you at the end of the session. Please type your questions in the Q&A box. We've got some time for questions at the end. But just a reminder, we have also launched quarterly learning plans. So you've told us that you want to be able to use the system better, and we are making sure that we're bringing you these plans quarterly as part of our roadmap to align to, I guess, upskilling yourself. So please scan the QR code if you want to access those learning plans. We're also launching webinars twice a quarter this year with our Iress Learning Centre team, which will complement these roadmaps and really deep dive into some of the features that sits underneath the roadmap. So please also head to the Learning Centre if you want to find out any more on that. Now we're about to go into Q&A, but before we do, we are going to pop up a very quick Zoom poll on the screen to get your feedback on the roadmap. So let's just take a moment to do that before we dive into questions. Thank you for completing that. We will also share a much more comprehensive feedback link in our email post this webinar. But it's really important that we stay on the pulse. And like we said, we love hearing feedback around our products, but also on this webinar to make sure we're hitting the right mark as well. So we're going to start jumping into some questions. So Yulia and Jake, I've got a whole list of questions here, and I might go through some. So the first one is from Alice and Jake, and this is in relation to the Outlook and Xplan sync and why it's been pushed back slightly. Do you want to give us an update on I guess, why that's been pushed back?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, the integration capability that's required to re-establish that service is something different to the integration capabilities that we have traditionally used. So as we are reassessing that now, we're seeing there is some additional complexity that comes into that. So we're actively reviewing that. I think if anything, there is a potentially very strong drive to accelerate it. But the driver for that being pushed out is ultimately that new complexity. I know that the service was first disrupted and ceased in October last year. and I know that it does feel like it's been some time since rectifying it. The challenge we have is that when those services do get deprecated, they just essentially automatically cease. We had a number of existing plans underway that we needed to close out, that meant that we were a little bit delayed in pivoting to it to re-establish it. So keen to get that back really on track and working again.
Yep, definitely. There's also another question associated with that. Can you tell us more about Google Calendar integration then?
Yeah, so that's another area we are going to step into and look at. So probably just a thing we were really keen to sort of explore. There are a number of other integrated email service providers, calendar management software. We need to look at how we deal with all of those, whether we deal with all of those or do we actually have a limited set of preferred integrated services. So we're actively doing that work right now, yeah, that's a little bit of strategy work, but not to distract the team from getting the two-way sync re-established with Outlook.
Yep, definitely. Here's one in regards to the Xplan business intelligence reports. Will they include management reports, example, performance reporting, KPIs, etc.?
So they're going to give you the opportunity to create your own reports. So we will be including some pre-designed reports. The data sets that we will initially be onboarding, things like client-focused data, workflow data, doc notes, some of the initial data sets. So we'll have some out-of-the-box dashboards as part of that service, but you will also be able to create your own dashboards and insights off that. So whether that's around performance, KPIs, the like, then if the data is there to, if that's the source of that data, if the data is the source for that reporting, then you'll definitely be able to create those to you as needed.
Perfect. There's a question here just in regards to AI in Xplan. So we have spoken about it over the last two roadmaps. Someone's asked, what's the latest news with AI in Xplan?
So we are currently at build stage. So we are completing the first milestone. There's a couple of milestones that we are planning ahead. So the pilot is coming in a due time, like roughly around end of Q2 to get into the pilot up and running around the file node, or we call it meeting AI. So last quarter I ran through high level about what the capabilities looks like. So we are at the build stage. We have been actively have a conversation with some of the pilot participants as well to get them ready. At the same time, it's a lot of infrastructure build that we need to do internally to get that ready.
Yep, definitely. And Jacob, this is a question just in regards to if they post on the community forum with product suggestions and feedback, will it all be responded to?
Sadly, no, it won't all be responded to. And that's purely a function of just the volume and the time that it would take for us to do that. We really do know that the need for closing the loop is there, and we are looking at different options with your customer team, Kerry, how we can actually provide that closed loop. But I think the reality will be is just the volume is so much that going into assessing that feedback, providing the response, communicating that, and no doubt having supplementary conversations. I think that's the other thing is, that's going to create a really significant time challenge for us that we're probably not prepared for at the moment. So I think the reality is we won't be responding to all feedback, but we will be looking to build a process that where we can, we will.
Yep, perfect. This is a question that I'll ask and I'll also probably answer because we've got some notes here for it as well. So from Jeremy, just in regards to IPS data feeds, can a report be generated on a regular basis to highlight the difference between Xplan and the source data? And a response from our product team is there's definitely an existing reconciliation tool that sits within Xplan and it highlights these differences. So some of this information can be found in a community link, so we'll make sure we get that community link out to Jeremy as well. There's another question here just in regards to, do data feeds apply to the New Zealand market? Jacob, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so we do have a number of data feeds in New Zealand. They are particularly around insurance. And we are continuing to have conversations with data product providers in the New Zealand market.
Yep, perfect. This is a question just in regards to data feeds again. Is there any projects to integrate open banking data into Xplan?
Yeah, it's a really interesting time to consider. Look, we have got an active initiative to look at that. there is some interesting dynamics that's occurred this week. So the leading player and provider of CDR, or open banking source data in the Australian market, has advised us this week that they will be stepping out of being a provider of that service. So we need to go and review the consumer data rights providers, so CDR, open banking providers in the Australian market, and kick off that work from finding a new partner, essentially, Kerry, to then re-establish this initiative.
Definitely. There's a question here just in regards to the Outlook plugin, and will it work with the new Outlook? Is that something we've been looking at?
I can't answer that.
Let's take that one.
Yeah, let's make sure we know who's provided that question and get an answer back.
Yeah, definitely. This one's a question just expanding on the AI strategy. So it's really asking about the functionality. So maybe we need to give a really quick snippet of what that functionality, or the first bits of functionality, looks like. So it's really any advisor functionality like file notes earmarked for efficiency via AI.
Yeah, so we are planning on the go-to-market plan right now. So there's a couple of news in the commodity article or whatnot, or blogs that we like to present to the market about what we currently building, and at the same time sharing the AI strategy. So let's wait this for couple of weeks to get this launched, but pretty much like I mentioned before, we are looking at the file note AI, or we call it milling AI. So it's enabling the users to have that transcriptions on the back of the customer conversations and automatically created a file note using the predetermined template that we provide, but also the custom template if you have one in your business.
Yeah, so definitely, I think whoever asked that question, there's no name against that one, but please watch this space. We are coming out with some functionality. We do have a broader AI strategy, but the first bit of functionality we're coming out with really is transcription to file note. It's going to save a whole heap of time and efficiency for our advisors. I'll ask another question. What's happening with RSID? So I'll probably answer that question. So we are in the process of rolling out RSID. So we mentioned over the last 2 quarters. It is a more secure way of logging into Xplan and using an OAuth authentication system. And it's one single login across our sort of ecosystem of logins within Xplan. We've gone through pilot, and the pilot was successful. We are in a live rollout at the moment, so we've got tranches of practices coming on board at the moment with that. We'll continue to roll that out in a staged way. We're not rushing that. We're making sure that we're doing it in tranches and controlled tranches, so we can make sure that people are upgraded to the new RSID, but also are able to access the system at the same time. So watch your space. If you haven't been communicated to yet, you'll see communications come out via email, and we've also got sort of direct communication via Xplan to let you know when the timing of that is as well. This is one. This one's an interesting one. So for you, Yulia, any progress with possible partnership with DocuSign? So probably something that we spoke about late last year.
Yeah, so it was late last year. We went to production. So under your doc notes, there's a DocuSign link. So once that document is ready to sign, you just click into that button, DocuSign, and you have to use your DocuSign users to enabling you to do single sign-on to DocuSign and have that sent to your client. The minute when your client signs that document, it saves directly into your file note. So we're enabling that capability or integrations from late last year.
Yep. There's a question here just in regards to sort of Outlook and everything. There's what about Calendly? Is that something we're looking at? Yeah, so we were looking at Calendly, and that's definitely not off the table. We just needed the team to focus on some of the things that they needed to close out late last year. That Calendly, which services to integrate with, will be a whole strategic piece being picked up. Yep, perfect, good. Let's have a look at some more questions. Sorry, we've got a few questions that have popped up now. Accounting software integration. Have we had thoughts around integration with platforms like Class or BGL? To get information from them? Look, we do have a longer term strategy for broader integration services, and I can't say we've got active plans for them at the moment, but it is definitely something that we'll be picking up as part of our integration and partner strategy. Yep, perfect. Good, thank you. We've got another question here. What's the latest with modelling 2 super funds in Xtools Plus, Yulia?
Yeah, so like Jack mentioned in the delivery stats that we have to delay this initiative because to make sure that we add end-to-end capability on this change. So not only we call it Model 2 Super Fund, now we call it reinvented Super and Pensions, so it's expanding that scope. So we are planning on the pilot stage at the moment. We are at the final last of milestone to get this complete launch for the pilot. So if you're again interested in a pilot, let us know. So pretty much there's a commodity article that we published a couple of weeks ago to show you that you can connect it to our Xtool expert. So there's an Xtool Connect and Iress Connect where you can put your interest in terms of piloting this initiative, get yourself early on in terms of understanding what's that mean to your process, and also keep abreast about what the changing in terms of this change. So yeah, please check out that commodity and go to Xtool Connect.
Yep, definitely. Thank you. Here's another question just in regards to SMA and SMA reporting in IPS. I can take this one. Is there plans to have better SMA reporting in IPS to show rolled up SMA data or detailed? And short answer is yes, we've released that via the reporting functionality within Portfolio IPS. So that's one way to access it is directly via the reporting functionality. Secondly, we've also released some reporting syntaxes that you can actually create your merged documents with as well. So please reach out to us and the team. There's no name against that. If you could put your name against that, we're happy to reach out and point you towards, I guess, the two areas where you could find that information. Just in regards to, there's a lot about integration and here, just in regards to DocuSign being considered, what about Adobe Sign? And I'm going to add Anacha, I'm going to add the rest of them in there as well, Jake, at the same time.
Yeah, again, partner strategy, it's looking at all integrated service providers. So Anacha, Adobe Sign, and there is a relatively new Google solution as well that we'll be looking to work out how we integrate with.
Yeah, perfect, good. Here's one from Carolyn. Will you be creating the ability to preview emails from Outlook and Xplan? So I think that means in our document notes area potentially, when you click on a document, it previews it. At the moment, you can .emls can be previewed, but not .msgs. So it's probably something we take on notice.
Probably we need to put into the feedback and assess what that looks like.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good one. Adobe Sign. This one's probably not for now. Has there been any further SMA capability enhancements, or what's on the roadmap for our SMS capabilities?
I think we probably would be great to get a little bit more granular in that question. I think to know exactly what's sort of behind that, and if we can get Michael to reach out to your contact point and make sure we can come back to you with some targeted information.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll just have one last scan through this. Otherwise, I think we'll wrap up. A big thank you to everyone who's joined this webinar today. We're always really happy to get together every quarter to talk through what we've delivered, but also what's upcoming on the webinar. We love all the questions coming through, so please keep them coming through. They either help us build our product roadmap through feedback, or they help us sort of get more information out into the community. This webinar is CPD accredited, so you will receive a certificate via email post this. You also receive an email with the roadmap where there's a lot of further detail in there. So a big thank you for joining us today. Look forward to catching up with you next quarter.